3 things are guaranteed in life: death, taxes, and the annual laying of the golden egg that is Call of Duty. Whether that ships with or without a campaign, it doesn't matter if you use protection, there will be new life every 12 months and you will buy it. It doesn't help that the mother of your newborn smoked a pack of Newports and drank in excess, you're just gonna get what you paid for. Now, I'm not gonna sit here and preach to you that these campaigns are bad. If I wanted to be pessimistic and flaunt it, I would hop onto Twitter and comment under whatever I can get my grubby little paws on. I'm not gonna sit here and cap for 10 minutes straight. I do find some sort of enjoyment within the various campaigns that have been released in the past few years. Yes, they are unbelievably stupid, but my brain is hardwired much like the average boomer. I like it when things go boom. But if I were to scrounge any kind words for this story, it would be that it ends. Now you might be wondering, why am I, a fully grown man, deciding to spend my precious time talking about a story that about 2 or 3 people will think back on 2 years from now and scour YouTube for a cunt, much like me, to deliver stale talking points about how trash it is for a solid hour. We all know the campaign is horrible, but I myself take time to digest media. Although with this release, it appears that I might need some Pepto-Bismol because I can feel the vomit slowly creep up my throat. With pacing that would make it seem that the writers performed this hack job entirely hopped up on fine spirits and a boatload of barbiturates, Modern Warfare I seems to make it abundantly clear that innovation is clearly not its strongest suit. And as a writer, I can only sit as a passenger as the story collectively derails itself and I sit alone, reevaluating my financial choices. It's a small and expensive appetizer that, aside from said pacing issues, is seasoned with callous character assassination, low stakes, poor character motivation, and a narrative flow that shoots this rebooted trilogy right out of the sky. Now, I understand it might seem silly to examine the story for a franchise that many would consider the large loaf of shit floating atop the proverbial toilet that is the modern gaming industry, but with all media, regardless of how it is delivered, it is not free from some nice and honest criticism. If they can pad the main campaign with nothing but multiplayer assets, then I believe I have full authority to overdose on a bunch of Adderall and talk about it for 10 minutes. I think what really set me off to take the script for this game and scribble all over it with a bunch of crayons like a 4-year-old discovering sentience was the feeling I was left with after finishing the campaign, where the screen went black and I was greeted with my face. A funny reminder that the bigwigs that are running Activision from their nice and cozy high-rise apartments are laughing their way to the bank as they found a way to sell more expensive DLC atop the free drip feed content system that allows the player to pay whenever they want. And as I sat there, I just reminisced on how I was $70 richer a mere 5 hours prior, and now all that is left in my empty savings account might get me a nice comfy bus ride to the nearest vasectomy clinic so they can safely extract the nuts out of my sack. Call of Duty 29 opens with a covert rescue mission, the structure of which follows a character that we will never touch again, breaking into a prison located in the Kastovia Sea to free my main man, Vladimir Makarov. I understand it's not breaking any new ground, but as an opening mission, it's alright. I found that the thematic content of the level was interesting, as we can get an understanding as audience members of the implications of such a character being released, told through clever level setting. And if you somehow don't know his character from past installments, you can get the idea that he must be cooking something crazy if they have him buried 5 stories deep in the gulag. Not only does he have a personal Russian army that speaks better English than most English speakers, but he clearly has the resources to pull off such an escape. Immediately after you break Makarov out, you are presented with a choice path. You might think as the player that this must impact the story or branch out the narrative. No, it doesn't. I can only imagine the writers were spinning happily in their swivel chairs, believing this false sense of freedom to be a good central theme, but in reality it just shows how much this story sucks, and as a result makes this nothing burger of a story a full course meal set with nothing fries and a large cup of nothing. In the next mission, we play as Farah in a mission structure that Modern Warfare 2022 toyed around with very lightly, but here it's on full display. Open combat missions. Thank God for innovation. Think how games such as Hitman and Dishonored structure their levels with a heavy emphasis on player freedom and choice, but remove anything of substance and place a nice $70 Call of Duty skin over it. I struggled to find enjoyment within these mission types as it just feels like multiplayer. If I wanted to play multiplayer, I would just do some whippets and scroll through the mess of a menu until I reach search and destroy. Now look, I'm all for player freedom. I even completed this mission just with the knife, but with freedom of choice comes the design philosophy behind such a choice as well. Nearly every single one of these open level missions tasks the player with reaching a few specific areas around the map, interacting with some object, and repeating that process until the mission ends. I found these missions to be a cap on story progression, as they slow the pacing down tremendously in between the linear levels, and the vast number of these missions cut the story to pieces. The problem is half of the missions in this game are open combat style missions, which completely strip the narrative of any sense of urgency. Also in special mention, one of the funniest things this game does is through the introduction of Dina, who has no relevance to the plot other than acting as a human exposition machine. After breaking out of prison, Makarov decides to do a little debriefing with his soldiers, and in a moment that I found utterly predictable, Makarov has one of his men killed for questioning his authority. Look, I understand his soldiers are loyal to the highest degree, but they are still human at the end of the day. There have to be at least a couple that feel demoralized, or at least feel the need to suck up to Makarov and dodge blame whenever they can instead of doing their jobs the right way. I understand I am asking quite a lot from this narrative. Actually, you know what? I should have switched on my maladaptive daydreamer brain and congratulated the writers for Makarov evil. He like boom boom. Following up to the Snorefest of the last mission is another Snorefest. If you thought antiquated mission structure was fun, boy do I have good news for you. It appears that infinitesimal compartment decided to half-ass a good chunk of this campaign, and as a result, so will I. In the final mission of Modern Warfare III, Task Force 141 tracks down Makarov to his underground base situated in London, and you might think that they are going to do something interesting with the location given that it is the final mission. But leave it to Brian Bloom and company to channel their inner David Benioff and disappoint more than a stuffy nose in a perfume store. Price and Soap fight their way through the tunnel, dispatching Coney troop after troop until they reach a bomb, which upon defusal, Soap is killed by Makarov with the same level of respect that exists in your local city council. Now I understand why they would recycle beats from previous games, but they waste such an interesting story beat and deliver it with the same energy that rivals a glass of water and bottle of Benadryl. And I can't help but think that somewhere along the way of developing their design document for this game, someone on the team contracted a mean case of dementia and no one else got the memo. I think the biggest sin of this narrative story is the lack of urgency that exists within the story it tries to tell. It's constantly reminding you that this is urgent and you should care, except I don't. The world is on the brink of war, except it's not. Time is not on our side, except it is, and I'm going to knife run every level. If you wanted to shape the dough that has been molded from linearity, then I can only hope you stick with that formula, as it will keep you on track and keep the story from grinding to a halt every time a developer wants to grow their wings. I think this is a game that would have benefited from 0 open combat missions and a heavy reconstruction of its course of events. Let me elaborate. Modern Warfare 3 opens in Verdansk, where Makarov has decided to do a little terrorist attack. You fight your way through the stadium and arrest Makarov as he tries to escape. 4 years later, Alpha Team extracts Makarov from the Gulag, and Price and company find out, leading them to divert course from their objective. Aboard Flight 761, Makarov outfits a former ULF fighter in order to cause tension between the East and West. Farah heads to Urzikstan to collect the black box, removing any involvement of the ULF, which leads Task Force 141 to track down Makarov's location through a Coney contract. Through this, they discover that he plans to blow up the London Channel Tunnel, and as they make their way through the winding snake-like structure, they find the bomb. And as Price and Gaz disarm the bomb, Makarov gets the upper hand and executes Gaz. This leads them on a If you are going to craft interesting hypothetical conflicts, then I expect you to take full advantage of them, not squander around on all fours looking for the glasses you just dropped. Choosing to wander around aimlessly in the writer's room blindfolded will only result in the next installment being taken just as seriously. Modern Warfare I will be interesting only if they can decide that basic narrative structure best suits these types of stories. We can only pray that they listen this time.